Hola, como esta? What's going on? It is Monday, and it's a holiday in the United States. It is Labor Day weekend, and I'm celebrating by not working. No, I worked all day. I worked on trying to put the best shows together for you that I can possibly do. And if you're just joining, you may notice there's some new stuff going on. There's some new graphics. I made these over the weekend. I worked on making some motion graphic backgrounds. I hope you enjoy them. At first I made them way too big. They were in 4K, and the sizes were huge, and it was causing massive glitching in the playback. So I hope it looks at least okay. There's supposed to be some, we would call it in the 90s tracking issues. That was an effect I added to that just for a little bit of, fun, I guess. But yeah, it was running kind of slow when I first set them up. But hey, before we get into everything going on, don't forget to check out wilddinosaur.com. It's the best place to support this channel. I have a merch store. You can get all kinds of merchandise. Oh, I don't often wear this one for some reason. I'm not sure. It's the Wild Dinosaur logo. I have some older versions that didn't have Wild Dinosaur written on it that I tend to wear a lot more, and it's pretty hot here, so wearing a black t-shirt's not the best idea. But not only that, you can get cool other things on the store, like this tote bag. This is really solid. Polyester tote bag, and your choice of yellow, red, or black handles. I don't know. I like these tote bags. They're really convenient. I keep them in my car for grocery shopping. I get commented on them frequently. I like telling people, hey, you can get your own over at wilddinosaur.com. I shout out those bags because like I said, they're convenient, and for a while I actually thought they were canvas. They are polyester, but I thought they were canvas. They are thick, and yeah, I'm just dumb, and I didn't read the label until recently. But anyways, what do you think? What do you think of the new background, the new motion background? Do you like it? Is it too much? I like it, but that doesn't necessarily matter as much as if you guys like it. I said I was gonna keep updating the show as best as I can, and graphics is something that's like relatively easy that I can like knock out. Reminds me of Saved by the Bell. Great. That's fantastic. I kind of wanted to lean into the color scheme a little bit from the Virtual Crate podcast that I had, which was like a lot of pinks and purples and stuff like that. Neon pinks and purples, I guess. So yeah, doing graphics is an easy enough thing to try to get done. It did take me most of the weekend. I was using some templates and I was working backwards, and for some reason they were just destroying my the render times on my computer. But I got it all worked out. I'll show you guys some stuff. So when I have I don't know, let's say video game news or things to talk about in the video game world, I have a graphic for it. You ready for it? Let's go. So that's Jon Does. Actually, I think I'm gonna call it Wild Dinosaurs Arcade. Um, I also have I'm bringing back some old stuff. Um, Dino News. Dino News will be a segment, and it's gonna be basically whenever I cover news stuff. Probably more entertainment news than anything. But there's graphics for that too. That's another 10-second intro. Check it out. So there's that one as well. Yeah, the graphics all look the same. They're the same template. Added different music. I made the music. That's my music. That's stuff that I've made. These are all like B-side things that never really went anywhere. I used to have a lot more of them, but you like the Dino News graphics? Yes. I do too. I like all of these graphics. I think well, I was looking around. I think it was maybe Friday night, and I used to do a segment with the old podcast called The Crate Dump, and I really liked. I had like a 10-second intro for that, and it was like missed the Instapoll asking for topics. I suggest talking about Andor. Oh, I'll talk about Andor. I'm gonna get a little closer to that because that doesn't come out till like the 21st or something. But maybe I should do like a deep dive before, like a Rogue One deep dive before Andor comes out. That's not a bad idea at all, actually. Anyways, I was looking at these graphics, and I liked the crate dump graphic I had was like a stack of crates, and then one falls down, and there was a fart sound, and just and then records fall out. So I really wanted to reuse that, and then I was like, no, you move on from that. And anyways, it got me thinking about doing different segments and having a little bit more. You know, you see the graphic, the virtual crate graphic or whatever, you know I'm probably going to talk about music. If you see the Dino News, you probably know I'm going to talk about entertainment news. Yeah, so I'll do a Rogue One deep dive. Your son would probably even watch. Awesome. But the more the merrier. I'll try to keep it down on the sailor talk, if you will. So let's see. What do I have today? Well, it's a holiday, so there wasn't a ton of news to talk about. But there was House of the Dragon last night, which we will talk about after the only commercial break. It's not like I don't have, that's one benefit to watching Jon Does over network television is you only get one commercial break instead of 4 or 5, depending on the show. I used to run commercial breaks for a living. I used to have to watch them. It was terrible. There's so many bad commercials out there. So many bad commercials. All right. Well, you know that I've made new graphics. You know that I'm trying to push this show in a direction of, getting it a little bit more together. Things are still happening. I should do a show on bad commercials. Oh man. I'd have to really, there's so many bad commercials, and you don't think of them as like, oh, that was just like an awful commercial. It's just like some of them are so boring. Like, okay, cool, there's a local car dealership commercial, boring, bad. Like, there's so many of them. I used to have to make some. I worked on a couple of like local car dealership commercials when I was in Sacramento, and they're so basic. They're so basic. They're all the same. They're all bad. Um, but there is an art form to commercial making, I will say. I'm not perfected it myself, but I do think it's difficult to make a good commercial. Actually, my favorite commercial I've ever seen. This has nothing to do with anything I've made. It was a Doritos commercial for a Super Bowl. I don't know. This might have been 10 plus years ago. And it was one of, I think it was a fan made, or like, I think they did like a what am I trying to say? Competition where people made commercials, and the best one made it as the Super Bowl commercial. And it was this guy sitting in a chair in this old dilapidated like mansion. And he's sitting next to the fireplace, I think, but there's a mouse hole, little tiny mouse hole in the floor. And he sets up, like a mouse trap with a Dorito where you'd put the cheese, and he puts that down in front of the mouse hole, so hopefully the mouse comes out and tries to eat the chip and get caught in the trap. And he sits back into his chair, kind of leans back, and he's got the bag of Doritos, and he just starts eating it. And then next thing you know, it's a dude in a full-size mouse costume just busts through the wall and tackles the dude and steals his chips. It's the best commercial I've ever seen. It's so dumb. It's so dumb. All right. Well, I do like the idea of good and bad commercials. I'll have to sit and stew on that for a little bit, because I've seen a lot of commercials in my day. So I showed you the two, the arcade and the Dino News Open that I've made, and I put off playing this next intro because I'm actually going into a virtual crate segment where I'm going to talk about some music. So let's get into it. All right. So there was music. There's music that I heard that I wanted to share. Some of this is like, what do I have in Spotify playlists? Well, 2 of these songs are really old. 2 of these songs are brand spanking new. And the first song that I wanted to talk about that came out, was it Friday? It might have been like Wednesday or Thursday. I can't remember, but it came out last week. And I've been listening to it quite a bit. And it's from the Gorillaz, which is... I've not ever been like a giant fan of the Gorillaz. I did enjoy what they were doing when they first hit the scene. And that first record I liked a couple of tracks off of. And I haven't really... I've heard a song here or there from various releases. But I hadn't heard a Gorillaz song that I've really liked probably since that first record. And the track that they dropped is called New Gold, and it features what's his name? I'm sorry. It's Booty Brown. I'm not super familiar, although I probably heard some stuff with the Roots that I don't know. I don't always pay attention to track names and titles and stuff. I just listen to stuff and like what I like, and don't always do deep dives on stuff, just because like I want to enjoy the thing as it exists, not always like oh, this song's cool, I need to know everything about this band right now. I do that sometimes, but the other big collaboration on this track, New Gold, is with Kevin Parker from Tame Impala. It just lists Tame Impala, so I'm not sure if there's other members. I mean, Kevin Parker essentially is Tame Impala, but there are other people involved. There's a variation of band members. And if you've ever listened to the band Pond from Australia. Some of them are Tame Impala members or former Tame Impala band members. I'll turn that up a little bit. So New Gold, man, this song like is a real pop hit. It's for me. Look, I'm not the type of, I don't go to the clubs as much as I used to, you know. But this song for me slaps. I'm using that term, slaps. I dig it. They also announced that they have a new album coming out. I'm read this thing from Pitchfork. Pitchfork. That's gonna be my rival news media or music media magazine to Pitchfork. Anyways, I'm gonna shut up about my dumb thought process and talk about Gorillaz. So yeah, this is from Pitchfork. Gorillaz have announced their new album Cracker Island out February 24th, 2023 via Warner. The record includes new song New Gold featuring Tame Impala and Booty Brown. Thundercat features on Cracker Island title track. Additional guests on the album include Bad Bunny, Stevie Nicks, Beck, and I don't know how to pronounce that. I don't want to butcher that. The album was recorded in London and Los Angeles earlier this year and was produced by Greg Kirsten. Cracker Island follows the 2001 Meanwhile EP, the 2020 collection Song Machine Season 1, Strange Times, and the June 2018 album The Now. The group's Song Machine was filled with guests including Robert Smith, Elton John, Schoolboy Q, Peter Hook, Slow Tie, and more. Damon Albarn and the Gorillaz are in the midst of a world tour. Excuse me. Damon Albarn and the Gorillaz are in the midst of a world tour. They come to North America soon and stay on the continent through October. Yeah, this is weird because I think Damon Albarn is a good songwriter, but I don't know if I like that much of his stuff, to be honest. Blur, the band Blur that he was a part of, that was popular in the 90s, they had like one hit that most people know. And then has had a bunch of solo stuff too. And there was one or two solo songs from him that I used to have on playlists. Gorillaz might be my favorite of the projects. But yeah, I don't know. It's been a while since I've cared much about Gorillaz. And I gotta admit, I've been really liking this New Gold track quite a bit. But more than wanting to listen to more Gorillaz, it makes me want to listen to more Tame Impala. Which I did it to myself. It was hard for Tame Impala to follow up Currents. And the Slow Rush was an okay record. I think there's some great songs on there, but the Currents, I can listen to almost that full record, front to back. And Slow Rush had like 2 or 3 tracks that I listened to, and I think their best track didn't even make it on the record. Patience, I think it was Patience, right? So it's been a minute since I've wanted to do any sort of deep dive into Tame Impala, and not for like hate or any reason. It's just like I needed a break, and I think I did hype up Slow Rush for myself a little bit too much, which I'm no disrespect to Kevin Parker or Tame Impala as a whole, but you know, somebody once said this about directors to me. You're allowed to have a bad day at the office, and when you make art, you're allowed to have an album that doesn't hit as hard as the other ones, or a movie that was as good as your previous ones. It's okay. It happens. It's a bad day at the office. But yeah, I don't know. This just made me a little bit more excited about more Tame Impala stuff, I guess. All right. Next up is Fazerdaze. Now, I haven't followed Fazerdaze very, very closely, but I heard a handful of tracks like a couple of years ago. She is from New Zealand, and if this is correct, I didn't realize this. I think she had help recording from Jonathan Pierce, who was in the Beths. Is that the same? Anyways, I didn't realize that, but I've liked Fazerdaze. What was that one track that I first listened to? It's probably one of her biggest tracks. So I wonder if she's like skateboarding. Lucky Girl. Yeah. Lucky Girl. That's a really good one. And A Little Uneasy. Those two are good tracks. But I'm used to hearing her more in the she has like a bedroom dream pop kind of aesthetic to her sound. And it's really good. But then there was this new track that she put out last week, and it's called Break. And it feels a little bit more like 90s alt rock to me, which is not a bad thing. I know it's become popular again, like the whole 90s thing. And yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. There was a lot of garbage alt bands in the 90s. There's some good ones for sure too, but she sounds like in this new track, it sounds like the Breeders light, I guess. And I'm a fan of the Breeders. I think that's the best of the Deal sisters, Kim and Kelly. I'm not a big Pixies fan. I think, I'm just not a big Pixies fan. But I think the Breeders are far superior as a musical entity. And this Fazerdaze track kind of feels like something the Breeders might have put out in the mid 90s. And yeah, this popped up on my YouTube feed. The Gorillaz one popped up on my Spotify feed, but this video popped up on my my YouTube feed, and I use this picture because not only is there a super talented, beautiful woman, singing and performing, but also there's that beautiful guitar she's holding. I thought that was I don't know, just really I like guitars. All right, leave me alone. All right, next up, and this is where we're starting to get into like old music that some of you guys might not know. Ryan probably definitely knows this because I texted him if he knew the chords to this track, which he was saying was in their biography, All Gates Open. And the band that I'm referring to is Can. I like Can a lot. Everything I've heard from Can has always fit a certain kind of Ryan will probably be yelling at me for being as dumb as I am. But I have missed some Can stuff because I played favorites with bandmates, and when it comes to singers, I prefer Damo Suzuki. that left me in a dumb position of not checking out some of the other stuff. And not all of their stuff is as funky as this, but the track that I've been listening to that I have on a playlist that's been on repeat for basically up until that Gorillaz song came out, and then it was just those two songs on repeat for like a couple of days. The song is the first song off Flow Motion, and it's called I Want More. And yeah, I don't know why I missed this track. And then I'm in a couple of interesting Facebook groups. One of them is what's it called? It's like Weird Outsider DIY Music. And so there's one of the problems that I've seen with that group is there's a lot of gatekeeping. And people saying, oh, that song has like 16,000 plays. It's not like outsider, underground, or DIY. And it's like a lot of those are kind of subjective. Like outsider music, really, what is that? All music is kind of outsider music, to be honest. DIY is a little bit more specific, like doing it yourself at home. Lo-fi music. I should have put Anika on here. Dang, that's also in one of my playlists. Anika in the City, that has a definite lo-fi sound, and it's relatively new. It's probably in the last 10 years. Anyways, I Want More popped up on this. Somebody had posted it in this group, and it hit all the notes for me. It had. The music video was from 1976, and it's the band on a stage, and they do all kinds of weird, like film double exposure, or messing with colors a bunch, just like kind of that what we would think of basic psychedelic music videos. But the song is like way more funky than some of the stuff I'm familiar with, because the way it was presented to me was a lot more experimental, a little noisy, a little elongated at times. Not always, but anyways, when I get a chance, I'm gonna I apologize, Ryan. I should have read All Gates Open a while ago. And I'm getting to a phase where I'm just not really going to have time to do it until I finish my short, I think. But they're an interesting group for sure. And if you don't know Can, I highly recommend looking into Can and other contemporaries known the genre. I don't know if this is something people don't like to say. But it was referred to as krautrock. There was a bunch of post World War II bands where the youth in Germany, they couldn't be. There's this really great BBC documentary about this. The youth in Germany post World War II, they didn't know what they were doing. They liked Western music, like the Beach Boys and the Beatles and stuff like that, but they couldn't be them because all of this like stuff going on post World War II, and like Germany like being in the position that they were, and so a lot of the kids there started to utilize certain techniques, computers, synthesizers, and stuff like that, and we can trace most of our modern electronic music back to these some of these bands. Kraftwerk is a big one that other people talk about, but Holger Zuzke, who is, I think he's the founding member of Can. He played bass a lot of the time and whatnot. He did a lot of radio. I think he like grew up building radios or something, and so he was into like a lot of noise, and he was one of he was a pioneer in like sampling. Like he used to cut up tapes and like tape them together and make homemade samples, you know. So Can is a really interesting band, just their whole history. Go listen to any of their music. If you're into something a little bit more like funky and maybe a little bit more tangible for some people, check out Flow Motion and the opening track, I Want More. And if you're interested in any more about Can, check out some of the documentaries out there. There's a really good, I think it's like an hour and a half long BBC documentary I watched on YouTube. And then All Gates Open, their biography. All right, the last band I have here on my virtual crate dump. No, I'm just, I'm talking about stuff that I listen to, and not all of it's new, like you just heard. I'll go through some Can every once in a while, I first heard Vitamin C. Was, I think, the first Can song I ever heard, and was like, oh, that's crazy. But I've been listening to the Slits, and they are a punk band from the 70s. Let's see, they started in London in 1976, and is it Ari Ep? She's the stepdaughter, the lead singer. She's the stepdaughter of Johnny Rotten from the Sex Pistols and Pill, which I have a very controversial take for a lot of people about Johnny Rotten. I'm going to say right here, and you can fight me for it whenever. Pill, Public Image Limited, is a far superior band in so many ways to the Sex Pistols. Yeah, I know people don't like hearing that, but Public Image Limited is way more interesting and way cooler of a band than the Sex Pistols. As far as I'm concerned, the Sex Pistols can, go save the Queen. I'll stop. Anyways, the Slits. I don't know that they had too many records, to be honest. Let's see. Studio albums, there's 3. The one track that I've been listening to is probably, I don't know, it might be their most famous. I haven't looked it up. I think this came out in 1979. And it is their cover of I Heard It Through the Grapevine. And I like this track a lot because it is it's a post-punk thing, but it's not like a new wavy at all. It's jangly like reggae. But with like a little punk rock sensibility, like the vocals, they change up a little bit. It's instead of grapevine, sometimes she says baseline, and she does some like weird, like frilly stuff, at a couple of parts with the vocals. But the Slits were really good. They're really, honestly, I couldn't tell you too much about their history. I know they've disbanded, and I think the lead singer has since passed away from health issues. But I really, really like the Heard It Through the Grapevine cover from the Slits. So if you're looking for a rad, like, all-girl punk band from the 70s that's not the Cherry Bombs, check out the Slits, And they have roots with the punk scene. Like I said, the lead singer's stepdad was Johnny Rotten from the Sex Pistols. But all right, that is it for the virtual crate. We'll get that in there one more time for you guys. Woo! Let's go. Like, I like having graphics. I just wish I could get some other stuff to work more. I did try working on some of the issues I was having last week with music. I yeah, still running into issues, and I'm not sure why. Also, I didn't really get a chance to get like second opinions on things either. So maybe this week, I can get Pat over here to help me with some of the audio stuff. I can do some music, but it's very limited, and basically it would just be the second mic that Pat uses when he's here to just mic me playing acoustic guitar, which might be okay once or twice, but you know, I have a lot of stuff. I'd love to plug in my drum machine and synthesizer and guitar all at the same time and do a little set at some point, but I don't even really have a set. It would just be like me incoherently jamming on G or D minor. I don't know. Anyways, let's do a quick commercial break, and then we will come back and we'll talk about House of the Dragon, which aired last night. So I'll see you guys in just a minute. What doesn't kill you had better start running. And those were life lessons with Dark Jon. I don't know if you know Dark Jon, but he's a lifestyle guru. He's done some promotional stuff for my store. He's a great dude. Sorry, I think I don't know what he goes by these days. He's kind of all over the place, but I tell you what, I got through some of the roughest times in my life because of Dark Jon. Just saying. So keep an eye out for more life lessons, or lifestyle tips, because there's some of those out there. But anyways, let's get to it. We all know why you're here. You don't care about my music taste. You don't even care that I'm mostly bald and I'm covering it up with string. These are just frayed rope that I glued to my head. That's what's going on there. So you're all here because you want to know what I think about House of the Dragon, right? Well, I hate it. There's too many people of color, and I'm out. I'm just kidding. That's totally. I'm just totally kidding. I just like clowning on those racist assholes that don't think people of color can be in fantasy. And just get out of here. Get out of here with that nonsense. You can't have a black guy in a show with dragons. Ugh. What? No, I know. You're here because you want to know what I think about House of the Dragon. It's good. I gotta not go off on these like little weird tangents where people think they're responding to, my dumb comments, because there's plenty of space in all of literature, filmmaking. There's plenty of space for people of color all over the world, like all over it. Let's throw them in fucking Star Wars and Lord of the Rings and everything that it has yet to come. Like there's room for all kinds of characters. Non-binary, like, oh man, I love seeing Neil Gaiman on his Twitter posts. They're just great. He will oftentimes respond to some of these dumb comments. like, you can't have a non-binary person as Desire. It's like, well, Desire was kind of modeled after David Bowie, who was kind of non-binary. So, know your source material. I'm just kidding. Source material only matters, like, you have your attachment to it, but when it comes to, like, adaptation, there needs to be room to adapt. That's all I'm saying. All right, House of the Dragon. So, man, where do I even start? Yeah, here's a good place. So each episode has done time jumps. Like the first episode in the opening, there's a 9-year time jump from like the opening monologue to where the story actually starts, and then they do tiny time jumps here and there. And we start off this new episode with a 2-year time jump, which is interesting. I'm still curious how this show, what the long-term goal of this show is, partly because what I know from some of the source material, there's only a couple years of the Civil War part, but also, like, if they keep doing time jumps like this, we're just gonna end up like season 3 with a whole different Targaryen family at this point, I think, so and I know we're already getting recastings of like some of the main characters here in the next couple episodes because of the time jump. So we're gonna have like a different actress playing Rhaenyra, and who else is it? Alicent Hightower, I think, and is it the Corlys kids, the children? I like the time jump. I think it works well. I just, I still have those questions like where are things going to end up going if we keep time jumping all the time? But they've done it well. And my comparison when it comes to shows not nailing time jumps versus shows that nail time jumps, I happened to over the weekend when I was working on some of the graphics, I just wanted something to throw on, and so I threw The Witcher on, the Netflix Henry Cavill Witcher, which I like that show. I'm a fan of that show, but the biggest problem with The Witcher is that show is completely out of order timeline wise, and they give you zero like inclination of that at all. There'll be storylines going on that take place like 30, 40, 50 years before like the present day storyline, and they're intercut. Like you'll see Geralt dealing with the situation, and then they cut to Ciri, and that's like a 30-year time jump in like not even per episode but per scene, and they don't tell you that at all. And I think Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon has done a good job of being like, we're gonna do time jumps pretty regularly. Be on board with it. They're like, the butter's on the toast at this point. I don't know what that means, but the butter is on the toast. No, they're letting you know right away, like, you got to keep up with this pacing, and I think that does help one part of the ending of Game of Thrones, where people were complaining, well, like, we're now living in TV time where, first couple of seasons, characters would say, I'm gonna go from this location to this location, and it would take 2-3 months for them to get there, in within that the timeline of that world, and then in season 7 and 8, a person would say, well, I'm gonna go from this location to this location, and it should take a lot of time, but in the next frame they're already there, and you're like, whoa, that must have taken months. And they did speed up the process and didn't really explain it very well there at the end. I think they're doing a better job of letting us know where we're at for the most part. And well, we haven't even really explored too many places. The Stepstones is the newest location that I can think of. We've been to Dragonstone and King's Landing. Is there any place else that I can't remember? So we haven't even really been to a ton of locations, and but I like the addition of the War and the Stepstones. I think it's really cool. Just new locations in general. And even with like King's Landing, we're seeing pieces of King's Landing that we didn't see before. I really like that the throne is much more, oh, here we go, accurate to the books, but like you can see, you know, over time that it's been dismantled more and more and more. And when you get to Game of Thrones, it's literally just a chair. But in this, like, even you can even see it here in this poster that I have up on screen. There's the dragon head, and then next to it is like all of the piles of swords that go down the steps. Like, that's how it's depicted in the books, and it's really brutal and just like intimidating. And I think it's nice that they've played with the imagery of that a little bit more. So what else is there? Oh, the fucking pig. This little piggy went to the market and didn't come home. So Rhaenyra runs out. She's pissed that, you know, it's been 2 years. She has a little brother now, and she's probably gonna get passed over. You know, her dad and basically said, you're gonna be the queen when I die. And then now he finally has his firstborn son, and everybody's, you know, wanting the firstborn son instead of her. And she's feeling this pressure. She's taking a lot of it to heart. And so she runs off and she goes out to the woods, and she's hanging out with the knight that she likes, that she hired. What's his name? Sir Criston Cole. Yeah. Get down, get funky, I think. I don't know. So he goes out and, you know, they just go camping. They're just like out camping or whatever, and they're having a really nice conversation, and then all of a sudden, oh my God, something's coming, and it might kill them. What is it? The suspense was killing me, and all of a sudden, it was bacon on legs. It was a fat boar that came running in and attacked them. And she, you know, she's at first defending herself against this pig as it's on top of her. Criston Cole stabs that little walking bacon ball right through the head. And then she just lets loose her anger. She pulls out her knife and she just goes to town. It was nice to see her release for a character, you know, like, get an opportunity to let her anger and emotions out in a acceptable way, you know, at least within context of the story. And they really do a good juxtaposition of the king's hunt and the fact that all of these guys went and found the heart. They thought it was going to be a white heart, giant deer, but it wasn't. And, you know, really just the juxtaposition of like, all of these people are here for the king. They said they spotted a white heart, but they ended up catching just a normal brown looking king deer. And then when, you know, he has to kill the thing because it's all tied up. People are basically holding it down, and he just little stab. Hey sir, you did it wrong. You're gonna have to stab it again, just a little to the left there. Make sure you get the heart. And it's just terrible screaming from this dying deer. But the juxtaposition of her not just releasing her anger through like the butchering of this pig, But a little later, you see her kind of just looking out, and then the White Heart walks into where they're at. Kristen Cole pulls out a sword like he's gonna try to butcher it. She's like, nah, let it go. And it really shows you a good idea of what kind of a ruler she might be compared to her father. Even though her father is not the worst, like he's not a bad guy. He's a bad king. I think there's arguments for that, but I don't think he is a bad character by any means. Look, it's Game of Thrones. Everybody does some messed up stuff in Game of Thrones. But I think he has really good intentions around things. Even though he, let his wife die there in that first episode, it was under the idea of maybe having a more solidified kingdom if his son lived. So there was good intentions. And I do think he is a good character if he's not a bad king. So yeah, fuck the pig. That pig, that little piggy didn't squeal home at all. Well, it squealed, just not on the way home. All the way to the butcher table, I guess that's what you call that. Okay, the last part of the episode was big in regards to Damon's character. At the beginning of the episode, we see him losing his battle in the stepstones. The crab feeders hiding in caves, and they can't draw him out. And they're just kind of losing their battle. Him and Gorillaz. I forget the Gorillaz family's names individually. There's the uncle who we meet in this episode for the first time, and then the son who's aged up a bit. I think we see a younger version of him at one point. No, we see his sister. Do we see him? No, I don't think we did. Maybe in episode 1. And yeah, they're losing the battle pretty bad, but by the end of it, they send Damon by himself to go lure the crab feeder out, and it's a pretty badass scene. I know there's people talking about like, well, you can hit him with arrows on Dragonback, but you can't hit him with arrows while he's just running through the sand. And what I would say to you was, they do shoot him 3 times while he's running through the sand. So he gets shot twice while on Dragonback, and those are on fire. Then he gets shot 3 times, twice in the chest and once in the leg, on that run. But I really liked this part of the episode because to me it had a lot of parallels and similarities to the Battle of the Bastards, which is it's probably my all-time favorite episode of Game of Thrones, maybe of television. It is very good. And there was a lot of similarities to the Battle of the Bastards in this last little bit of the episode. It wasn't. I think the Battle of the Bastards takes up quite a bit of the episode, and this was the end of the episode, but it was really well done. And they do send Damon in to kind of draw the enemy out, and then they attack. And it was a good move. And what was I gonna say? The one part that I wished we got a little more of was I wished we got to understand who the crab feeder is, because they do give them a name, which I can't remember. It's Darnahar or something like that. There's a little bit of personification to this like character that we've only seen a couple of times, who's pretty brutal, whatever. I would have either liked to see a little bit more of what the crab feeders agenda is, or even, unfortunately, we don't get to see the battle with the crab feeder. It's more just like the assault on the area, which is cool. You get a lot of great stuff. I do wish we got to see a little bit of once Damon made it into the cave, and that was one of the many things that I thought paralleled Battle of the Bastards. Well, first of all, you got all of the like Jon Snow in the middle of all the arrows, and it kind of happened with Rhaegar too, even though he gets shot. And then once the like all hope is lost moment happens, where they send in all the army and you think they're gonna kill Daemon, and then his dudes come in and the dragon shows up and whatnot. He has that moment where he sees the crab feeder going into the cave, and then he takes off running after him, and that totally was like the Jon Snow running after Ramsay Bolton once the tide of the Battle of the Bastards turned, and Ramsay goes back into Winterfell being like, we can just lock him out and let wait for him to leave or starve to death because we got all the resources in here. And it was like, nah, bro, you done. But the crab feeder goes in, and the next thing we see is Daemon come out dragging the crab feeder, half of them at least, cuts him in half. There's just one hand. I think he cuts him from like the shoulder down, so there's like guts hanging out and stuff. It's pretty awesome. And this really legitimizes Daemon. He was having some issues there with getting this war taken care of because he was there for like 2 years and nothing was getting accomplished. So he had to really go for gold, and he achieved it. And I think we're gonna see him come back with more authority when he makes it back to King's Landing. Yeah, so I like this episode. I like House of the Dragon. I can't wait for more episodes. I'm, like I keep saying, still really curious about like the overall structure of the show based on what I know of some of the source material and how it only takes place within a certain time frame, and also knowing that they're doing a lot of time jumping in the episodes, which I don't dislike. Tell your story the way you think you need to tell it, but make us aware. Like talking about The Witcher, season 2 is so much more straightforward, and you get a sense of, okay, this is a linear story. Season 1 of The Witcher is not a linear story, and you have no idea. You get super lost. I would actually like to watch The Witcher with somebody who like hasn't seen it before, and like sit there and explain like what the timelines are and see if they understand a little bit better. And not to say I'm a huge Witcher fan. I mean, I know it's a book series. I've never read any of them, but I did play a bit of The Witcher 3 like a year or two ago. And I just got tied up in other games. Like I actually I'm debating tonight whether I work on Horizon Forbidden West a little bit more, because it's been like probably a week or two since it's been about a week since I played, and I would like to catch up. Do some take out I'm getting to like a pretty crucial point in the game. Close to the end, I think. I don't know. The Elvis movie is on HBO Max, and I wouldn't mind checking that out as well. Not a huge Elvis fan, but I'm interested in the movie, and if it's available on HBO, I'll check it out. All right. So it's 6 p.m., which, if you remember, new schedule. Monday, Tuesday are at 5 p.m. and Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I'm live at 6 p.m. The reason for that is school. I have school starting soon in a couple weeks, and I figured just start getting on this schedule now. So until I'm done with school stuff or I'm on a quarter system, so I only have 11 weeks per quarter, and it starts in like 2 weeks. So in the next like 14, 15 weeks, I might need to change the schedule again. I would like to just every day be at like 6 p.m. would be the goal. But I do have class at night on Monday and Tuesday this quarter at least. So we'll see how next quarter shapes up, and I'll of course let you guys know how things shape up through all that. But yeah, that's gonna do it today. What do you guys think of the new graphics, the new looks, the new thumbnail layout? Always trying to tweak stuff. You like the new graphics and whatnot. Don't forget to check out wilddinosaur.com. Again, it's the best place to support this channel. You can get cool t-shirts like the one I'm wearing right now. This is my Wild Dinosaur logo. Love the look. Freaking awesome. So yeah, I had to do something because of how big I failed last week with trying to play guitar. Yeah, I need to. There's a handful of things this week that I'm forgetting off. There's so much stuff. Friday and Saturday, D23, so you'll get an extra episode on Saturday from me. So you get 6 days this week. WildDinosaur.com to check out merch and other stuff that I'm making. I need to finalize a script and a storyboard to shoot, hopefully maybe this weekend or next week. I know I need to talk to Dusty about that. And the last thing is, do not forget to check the description of this video, because there's a link to donate to Planned Parenthood, because I think it's super important. There's a huge war on, well, there's always been a war on healthcare in this country, and there's even more of a war on reproductive rights, women's rights, healthcare rights in this country, and Planned Parenthood is on the front lines of that, and they do all kinds of great stuff for both men and women. So don't forget to help out Planned Parenthood, because it's like legit important. Anyways, I hope you guys have a good rest of your Labor Day weekend. I'll see you tomorrow at 5 p.m. With my crazy cool new graphics. And yeah, see you guys tomorrow.